commitments. Let me just cite a couple. Like the rest of the world, the corals in Singapore are increasingly vulnerable to climate change. In December 2024, we launched our most extensive coral restoration project, which we call the 100K Coral Initiative. And this involves transplanting 100,000 corals in the next decade and beyond. And we believe this effort will support marine biodiversity and protect us from coral erosion in the seas around Singapore. Singapore has also launched our first seagrass restoration project in September 24, which will contribute to global carbon sequestration efforts. As the lungs of the seagrass acts as sponges and are in fact highly effective at storing carbon. Singapore will also provide capacity building assistance to our fellow developing countries to address ocean-related challenges. And through our Singapore Cooperation Program Sustainability Action Package, we have conducted over 60 courses for more than 1,600 officials. Over the next year, we will conduct more of such courses on the state of blue carbon science, policy, finance, and achieving high-quality outcomes. So Singapore commits to work with all our partners to restore the health and to enhance the resilience of our oceans. The choices we make today will define the legacy we leave behind for future generations. Thank you, Excellencies.
Doy las gracias al Ministro de Relaciones Exteriores de Singapur. Doy ahora la palabra a la excelentísima señora Justice Ntomen Mahara, Viceprimera Ministra, Ministra de Asuntos Parlamentarios de Lesoto.
Thank you, Mr. President Emmanuel Macron, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellencies. It is my honor and privilege to address this esteemed conference. I would like to express Lesotho's gratitude to Costa Rica and France for their role in co-hosting the third United Nations Ocean Conference. This year's theme, Accelerating Action and Mobilizing All Actors to Conserve and Sustainably Use the Ocean, is appropriate as we face global challenges, including the ongoing deleterious effects of climate change, which affect the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals, specifically SDG 14, on the conservation and sustainable use of oceans, seas, and marine resources. Excellencies, as you may be aware, my country, Lesotho, is a mountainous, landlocked country with no access to the sea. Therefore, participating in this conference is a true testimony of Lesotho's commitment to join the rest of the international community in working towards contributing to the conservation and sustainable use of the ocean. Equally important, we intend to use this platform to demonstrate our national commitments in support of the implementation of SDG 14. It is also important to know that Lesotho recognizes the important role of a healthy marine environment and ecosystems, sustainable fisheries, and sustainable aquaculture for food security and nutrition. To this end, and notwithstanding our landlocked status with no direct access to the ocean and associated marine resources, we are committed to the cause. Over and above that, Lesotho has numerous inland water bodies, including rivers, large dams, wetlands, and reservoirs. These large water reservoirs have increased the native fish populations, thus leading to the development of fisheries as a source of livelihood. To date, Lesotho ranks #1 in Africa for trout fish exports, thus generating jobs, providing food for the local communities, and bringing in much-needed foreign currency. In this connection, Lesotho is also focused on conserving its wetlands and employing ecosystem-based adaptation strategies. Excellencies, I also wish to highlight that the head of state of the Kingdom of Lesotho, His Majesty King Letsie III, is the African Union Champion for Nutrition and the FAO Special Ambassador on Nutrition. For this reason, the country is further committed to advocating for food security and nutrition as a fundamental pillar of sustainable development. Furthermore, Lesotho continues to call for concerted action at all levels to recover momentum and accelerate efforts to end hunger and all forms of malnutrition. It is against this backdrop that we also join our voice in support of aquatic food systems, sustainable fisheries management, and promotion of sustainable food production from the ocean. We also add our voices and observe with regret that despite their importance, oceans are in a state of threat due to the adverse impacts of climate change, biodiversity loss, plastic and other pollution, as well as unsustainable fisheries and ocean acidification, mostly resulting from human activity. The onus is therefore on us to ensure that we do all possible to restore ocean health and protect marine areas. Excellencies, in advancing global efforts to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 14, the 1982 UNCLOS remains a fundamental and foundational instrument. It sets out the legal framework within which all activities in the oceans and seas must be carried out, including the conservation and sustainable use of marine resources. For a landlocked country like Lesotho, the importance of UNCLOS lies not only in the recognition of the rights and duties of all states in the governance of ocean spaces, but also in the emphasis it places on cooperation and equitable access to the benefits derived from marine biodiversity. Lesotho strongly upholds the principle that ocean governance must be inclusive and benefit all nations, irrespective of geographical positioning, because it is our common inheritance. Furthermore, the agreement on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity on areas beyond national jurisdiction, the BBNJ agreement, is another initiative that we warmly endorse. This historic document highlights the international community's shared commitment to preserving ocean health, especially in regions outside of national borders, and it strengthens multilateralism. The BBNJ agreement will play a critical role in achieving SDG 14 targets, especially those related to marine biodiversity, capacity building, and the sharing of marine genetic resources in a fair and equitable manner. Excellencies, Lesotho is pleased to announce that she has just signed the BBNJ agreement during the treaty event along the margins of this third United Nations Oceans Conference. This step highlights our national commitment to global ocean governance despite our being landlocked. Our signature is both symbolic and substantive, but most importantly, it signifies our solidarity with the global community in striving for an inclusive, legally sound, and equitable system for protecting the ocean's vast and shared resources. This initiative highlights our national commitment to contributing meaningfully to global ocean governance, despite our being a landlocked nation. In this context, we reaffirm the importance of enhanced international cooperation, technology transfer, and capacity building for developing countries, including landlocked developing countries like Lesotho. It is only through such collaborative measures that we can ensure the full and effective implementation of the BBNJ agreement and the realization of SDG 14 in its entirety. In conclusion, while Lesotho may not have a coastline, we firmly believe that the health of the ocean is a shared responsibility which transcends geography. The legacy we leave for future generations will be determined by what we do today. Therefore, let us seize this opportunity through instruments like the UNCLOS and the BBNJ agreement to strengthen international solidarity, promote equity, and accelerate collective efforts to restore, protect, and sustainably use our oceans. If we take care of them by letting them breathe, recharge, and recover, they will in turn take care of us. Lesotho stands ready to play its part in this global endeavor. I thank you.
Doy las gracias a la viceprimera ministra y ministra de Asuntos Parlamentarios de Lesoto. Doy ahora la palabra a la excelentísima señora Ana Paula Carvalho, ministra de Medio Ambiente de Angola.
Good morning. I speak in Portuguese. Excelências, distintos delegados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores, permitam-me, antes de mais, transmitir os cumprimentos de Sua Excelência João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, Presidente da República de Angola, a Sua Excelência Presidente Emmanuel Macron, bem como a todos os chefes de Estado, chefes de governo e delegações presentes, saudando vivamente o governo francês e o governo da Costa Rica pela excelente organização desta conferência, bem como as autoridades de Nice pela forma hospitaleira como fomos recebidos. Os oceanos são a base da vida no planeta. Cobrem 70% de superfície da Terra, produzem oxigênio, regulam o clima e sustentam uma biodiversidade rica. São fonte de alimento, meios de vida, bem-estar para milhões de pessoas. Ademais, a Agenda 2030 das Nações Unidas, através do ODS 14, apela à conservação e uso sustentável dos oceanos, reconhecendo o seu papel vital no desenvolvimento sustentável. Por outro lado, a Agenda 2063 da União Africana e a Estratégia Marítima Integrada da África 2050 identificam a economia azul como um pilar estratégico para o crescimento inclusivo e sustentável. Apesar destes progressos normativos, os oceanos ainda enfrentam ameaças globais sem precedentes. As alterações climáticas estão a aquecer e a acidificar os oceanos, reduzindo o oxigênio e afetando gravemente os ecossistemas marinhos, as pescas e a subsistência das comunidades costeiras. No quadro destes cenários, destacam-se a adoção, em 2023, do Tratado do Alto Mar, BBNJ, como um avanço que estabelece um quadro local vinculativo para a proteção da biodiversidade marinha em áreas fora de jurisdições nacionais. Reafirmando o seu firme compromisso com a preservação dos oceanos, Angola assinou o referido tratado em janeiro de 2025. Neste sentido, encorajamos a todos os Estados a aderirem e ratificarem este importante instrumento internacional para garantir a sua entrada em vigor. Excelências, minhas senhoras e meus senhores, a par de muitos outros países, Angola tem uma ligação estreita com o Oceano Atlântico, pelo facto de ter 1.650 quilômetros de costa que desempenham um papel vital na economia nacional. Em termos de biodiversidade, a parte angolana do mesmo integra ecossistemas ricos e variados, com espécies de elevado interesse nacional, internacional e muitas delas migratórias. Por outro lado, Angola está profundamente empenhada numa governança sustentável dos oceanos. Convém referir que, em 2022, aprovou a sua Estratégia Nacional para o Mar 2030, que define objetivos claros para o aproveitamento sustentável do seu domínio marítimo. Em 2023, passou a implementar o Plano de Ordenamento do Espaço Marítimo. O país está também a fortalecer a sua capacidade institucional, com destaque para a inauguração do Centro Nacional de Coordenação e Vigilância Marítima, que irá reforçar a fiscalização da zona marítima. Está igualmente em curso o processo de criação da primeira área de conservação marinha no país, bem como a Reserva da Biosfera, que abrangerá também parte do Oceano Atlântico. A gestão do saneamento das cidades costeiras tem sido outra prioridade do Executivo angolano, sobretudo face à crise ambiental que enfrentamos, em particular a poluição marinha. E, neste sentido, foi aprovado o Decreto Presidencial número 122/25, de 29 de maio, que aprova o Plano de Ação Nacional de Eliminação Progressiva de Plásticos de Utilização Única 2025-2027. Excelências, minhas senhoras e meus senhores, acreditamos firmemente que os esforços nacionais, em articulação com os regionais e globais, permitirão aos Estados alcançar o equilíbrio necessário para o uso sustentável dos recursos dos oceanos. No entanto, tal desiderato exige um maior investimento, quer em investigação científica, para que sustente decisões políticas pragmáticas. Reconhecemos que o esforço da cooperação entre o Sul global e os países industrializados será essencial para acelerar a consolidação de capacidades e infraestruturas científicas nos países em desenvolvimento. Para terminar, Angola manifesta a sua total disponibilidade para cooperar com todos os Estados e organizações na promoção da sustentabilidade dos oceanos, contribuindo assim para que esta terceira Conferência dos Oceanos seja um catalisador decisivo para a governação equilibrada e sustentável dos nossos mares. O meu muito obrigado.
Doy las gracias a la ministra de Medio Ambiente de Angola. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Carsten Schneider, ministro federal de Medio Ambiente, Acción por el Cambio Climático, Protección de la Naturaleza y Seguridad Nuclear de Alemania.
Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted that we could come together here today as an international ocean community. My warmest thanks to our hosts, France and Costa Rica, for the excellent organization of this important conference. It is good that we are all here as we share the same ocean. A threat to that ocean affects us all. The climate crisis, pollution and overuse are having disastrous impacts on biodiversity in our seas and oceans. The condition of Germany's own seas, the North and Baltic seas, is also poor. Populations of cod and herring have declined significantly. They once secured the livelihood of many fishers. Global warming is hitting the Baltic Sea especially hard. The necessary expansion of offshore wind energy, which is also supported by the German government policy, is placing additional pressure on marine nature. That means we have to do something at home and around the world. That is why the German government has made marine conservation and protection a priority of their policy and especially of mine. At national level, we are focusing on the following. 46% of our marine areas are already designated protected areas. Now we want to improve their quality. That is part of the EU target to place 10% of marine areas under a strict protection that allows natural processes to develop. Wind energy, as I mentioned, is a key component of climate change mitigation. However, it can have adverse impact on endangered species. We are focusing on careful special planning in order to minimize conflicts of use. Second, hundreds of thousands of tons of dumped munitions are lying at the bottom of North and Baltic seas. They pose a danger to humans in the marine environment. The German government has launched an immediate action program for munitions recovery with funding of 100 million euros. We want to continue that program for the long term. The next step will be to build an offshore platform for recovering and destroying the munitions. With our federal action plan on nature-based solutions for climate and biodiversity, we support projects for restoring salt marshes, seagrass meadows, and kelp forests. Around 100 million euros are available for this. This support is restoring habitats. We are increasing the resilience of the seas and enhancing their natural capacity to store carbon. Nature conservation and climate action go hand in hand. Ladies and gentlemen, preserving our planet will only succeed if every country takes its own ambitious action and if we cooperate closely. For the German government, the main aim is to preserve and strengthen the rule-based order of the seas and oceans. 3 points are especially important to me. Firstly, the BBNJ agreement, often used and mentioned these days. This agreement must be ratified and quickly implemented. We are working towards that goal in the High Ambition Coalition. Our international climate initiative supports partners in the Global South in designating high seas protected areas. The project funding totals 20 million euros. Secondly, the deep sea must remain protected. In the International Seabed Authority, we continue to advocate a precautionary pause on deep sea mining. Only ISA has a mandate to approve activities in the deep sea. The gaps in our knowledge of the deep sea are still far too large. Thirdly, we support an ambitious plastics agreement. It is particularly important that the agreement covers the entire cycle life of plastic. Measures must begin at the very start of the value chain. Ladies and gentlemen, the ocean is important for all of us. It provides food and is economically essential for fisheries, tourism, and global trade. As the Earth's largest connected ecosystem, the ocean helps regulate the global climate. That is why we must give the ocean better protection. Let us work on that together in our own countries and as an international community. Thank you very much.
Doy las gracias al Ministro Federal de Medio Ambiente, Acción por el Cambio Climático, Protección de la Naturaleza y Seguridad Nuclear de Alemania. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Do-Hyun Kang, Ministro de Océanos y Pesca de la República de Corea.
Thank you, Mr. President. 감사합니다. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. The ocean is essential not only to our survival, but also to our shared prosperity. It nurtures global biodiversity, supports food security, and helps regulate our climate. The challenges we face today are indeed significant. Yet, I firmly believe that we already possess the knowledge, the tools, and the resources to confront the challenges. What we need now more than ever is collective action. We must share what we know. We must combine what we have, and we must use it to safeguard our ocean together. The theme of this conference, accelerating action and mobilizing all actors, clearly point us in the right direction and underscore the urgency of our task. Ladies and gentlemen, in April this year, Korea had the honor of hosting the 10th Our Ocean Conference, welcoming countries, IGOs, NGOs, academia, and other private sector leaders. It marked a powerful moment of unity as over 3,000 participants aligned under the slogan, Our Ocean, Our Action. To measure our progress and shape future action, we reviewed the status of all commitments made over the past decade through the OC. The results were encouraging. 43% of commitments have been completed. 38% are in progress, and 18% remain pending. Clearly, we are moving forward, but much more remains to be done. Korea is ready to lead by example and is fully committed to advancing this global effort. First, Korea is proud to join the 100% Alliance for Sustainable. We are one of the few countries managing our ocean. In parallel, we will also fully enforce total allowable catch management for all major species in Korea by the same year. And finally, the Republic of Korea, together with the Republic of Chile, is honored to propose co-hosting the 4th UN Ocean Conference in 2028. Korea stands fully prepared for this important gathering. From initiating the APEC ocean-related ministerial meetings to hosting the 10th Our Ocean Conference, Korea has consistently demonstrated its capacity, experience, and unwavering commitment to global ocean action. The Republic of Chile, a global leader in marine protection, is at the forefront of the 100% Alliance for Sustainable Ocean Management. Together, Korea and Chile are ready not only to serve as a co-host, but also as dedicated partners in driving global ocean action for sustainable development. With the 2030 SDG target year fasting approaching, the 4th UN Ocean Conference in 2028 will be a critical milestone, our final chance to galvanize collective action take stock of our progress and chart a bold path beyond 2030. We respectfully seek your support for this joint proposal by Korea and Chile to host the 4th UN Ocean Conference. Thank you very much.
Doy las gracias al ministro de Océanos y Pesca de la República de Corea. Tengo ahora el honor de invitar al excelentísimo señor Russell Emiso Dlamini, primer ministro del Reino de Eswatini.
Your Excellency, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellency, President Emmanuel Macron, Your Excellency, President Rodrigo Chavez, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is with profound honor and humility that I deliver this statement on behalf of His Majesty King Mswati III, the head of state of the Kingdom of Eswatini. At this United Nations Ocean Conference in the vibrant city of Nice, on behalf of the government and the people of Eswatini, I wish to express our deepest gratitude to the governments and the peoples of France and Costa Rica for hosting this vital global dialogue and for the generous hospitality extended to our delegation. As a land-linked nation, Eswatini's participation in this conference might at first seem unconventional. However, our presence here today is deliberate and deeply meaningful. It reflects our unwavering recognition that ocean health begins far inland, in the watersheds, riverbanks, and highlands of upstream nations like ours. Our major rivers, the Komati, Mbuluzi, and Great Usutu, do not terminate within our borders. They flow onward, eventually feeding into the Indian Ocean. In this way, Eswatini is connected to the world's oceans, not only geographically, but ecologically and morally as well. Eswatini's relationship with the ocean, despite our landlocked status, is a deep-seated one that we seek to build on. As an export-driven market, our major commodities, such as sugar and beef, rely on maritime trade through the ports in our neighboring countries. As such, we are heavily invested in this conversation and the deliberations here. His Majesty King Mswati III has from time to time reiterated to Emaswati that in order to exponentially grow the economy and deal decisively with the threat of food insecurity in our own country, we need to use our own rivers and dams to tap into the global blue economy. And to do that, we need our oceans healthy. The theme of this conference, accelerating action and mobilizing all actors to conserve and sustainably use the ocean, aligns strongly with our own national vision. Government's program of action for 2024 to 2029, launched under the theme, Igniting Wealth and Well-being for the Nation, is anchored on principles of inclusive development, environmental stewardship, and long-term sustainability. Distinguished delegates, as numerous speakers, including our gracious host, Mr. President Macron, have spoken before, there has been a lot said about our subject matter today, but with little action. Action is now needed. Strategies should not only look to reverse current damage to the oceans, but to prevent any future harm. Development that disregards the environment is short-sighted and costly. Prioritizing economic gains over ecological integrity causes damage, polluted rivers, and degraded ecosystems that require greater resources to repair than to prevent. Eswatini is committed to protecting the oceans. Eswatini is committed to protecting the oceans, and this is embedded in a holistic policy framework. Our focus is on eliminating pollutants before they reach our rivers, ensuring that eventually flows to the sea do so without harm. This includes scaling up organic and regenerative farming, improving soil and water management, and significantly reducing the use of hazardous chemicals in agriculture. We have taken legislative action against single-use plastics and continue to strengthen our national waste management system to better control what enters the waterways. In this light, we support the call for the global and eventual banning of plastics. An integrated strategy is also needed to keep the oceans free from chemicals. Your Excellencies, beyond pollution control, Eswatini recognizes the intrinsic link between ocean health, climate resilience, and biodiversity conservation. Our government's plan of action lays out clear actions to operationalize the national green economy policy and achieve our commitments under the Paris Agreement. These actions cut across multiple sectors, including agriculture, forestry, and energy, and are guided by our nationally determined contributions. We are strengthening and empowering our climate change department to roll out a climate finance strategy to ensure a well-coordinated and results-oriented implementation. As a less developed country, we have very low industrial pollution. Our contribution to carbon emissions and the current global challenges related to climate change is minimal and insignificant. However, our ambition to be developed is aligned to sustainable solutions, including renewable energy and nature-based solutions in order to make our country a green economy. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini understands that development cannot be sustained without adequate resources and institutional capabilities. Our current plan of action, backed by a multi-year financing strategy, integrates climate and environment priorities into the national budget. To support implementation, we have adopted a national resource mobilization strategy that brings together domestic efforts and external partnerships, including through South-South and triangular cooperation frameworks. Eswatini is preparing to engage actively at the upcoming Global Plastic Treaty Conference in Geneva, where we will advocate for equitable and inclusive mechanisms to support developing countries. These include access to green finance, enhanced technical assistance, and incentives for innovation in sustainable packaging, product design, and waste processing. We call on the international community to honor its commitments to climate and environmental justice, not as charity, but as shared investment in humanity's future. We also acknowledge and draw inspiration from the exemplary efforts of our coastal partners, especially Costa Rica. Their leadership in marine diversity, blue carbon strategies, and ocean governance presents invaluable models from which inland and upstream nations can learn. Cooperation between ocean-facing and landlocked countries must become the norm, not the exception. Excellencies, Eswatini's vision for sustainable development is underpinned by values that guide our governance: patriotism, boldness, agility, innovation, excellence, and integrity. These principles are the bedrock of our environmental strategies and define how we engage with our citizens and with the world. In our education system, we are mainstreaming environmental awareness, sustainability thinking, and digital inclusion to prepare future generations for the realities of a changing climate and fragile planet. We are also investing in national communication strategies that keep the public informed and involved in our environmental objectives. Citizens are not merely recipients of policy, but they are co-creators of a national ethos of stewardship and resilience. The success of our program of action depends on this collective consciousness and shared responsibility. In conclusion, I wish to reiterate Eswatini's strong commitment to Sustainable Development Goal number 14 and the broader 2030 agenda. We are deeply grateful to France and Costa Rica for convening this critical platform. Eswatini may be landlocked, but we are not disconnected. Our rivers do not end at our borders, and neither does our responsibility. We stand ready to work with all nations to ensure that the waters that leave our land carry not only life, but also hope, integrity, and sustainability to the ocean. I thank you.
Doy las gracias al primer ministro del Reino de Eswatini. Doy ahora la palabra a la excelentísima señora Romina Pourmokhtari, ministra de Clima y Medio Ambiente de Suecia.
Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, friends of the ocean, we extend our sincere gratitude to the governments of France and Costa Rica for hosting the third United Nations Ocean Conference. We must all stay committed to the Sustainable Development Goals and to the UN multilateral agreements. We must all stay committed to effective multilateralism, the respect for international law, and a rules-based international order. With accelerating climate change, biodiversity loss, and an increased pollution, the need for action for our oceans is urgent. An international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution based on the full life cycle of plastic must be reached. And I'm proud to announce that the Swedish Parliament has adopted the government's bill, A Living Sea, increased protection, reduced eutrophication, and sustainable fishing. This bill affirms the ecosystem-based approach as a fundamental guiding principle for our marine policy. And this is an important approach, becoming more relevant every day. Following my initiative, the Swedish government is taking strong action, including firm measures to combat eutrophication in the Baltic Sea. We ban bottom trawling in marine protected areas in coastal waters and expand marine protected areas to contribute to the global target of protecting 30% of the sea by 2030. Action must be taken from source to sea. The European Union manifests commitment through the European Ocean Pact. Cooperation through regional seas conventions is also necessary. And Sweden's shipping sector is driven by innovation and collaboration to accelerate commercially viable solutions to meet climate and sustainability goals. One of our voluntary commitments is that from this year, Sweden is banning scrubber discharges in our territorial waters. We urge other states to take steps forward to ban or limit these harmful discharges. We must remain firmly committed to financing for development and maximize synergies between development cooperation, private and institutional investments, as well as trade and innovation. The broadening of the donor base is critical for us to mobilize resources. Sweden is proud to be the largest per capita contributor to the Global Environmental Facility, and we urge others to contribute. Through GEF, we have reduced climate emissions created vast marine protected areas, and stopped waste at scale from entering the ocean. We support the UN's Ocean Decade to strengthen science-based decision-making, accelerate ocean literacy, and further ecosystem-based marine spatial planning. We must also remain committed to ending illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing and encourage WTO members to deposit their instruments of acceptance of the WTO agreements on fisheries subsidies. The recently adopted OECD recommendation on eliminating government support to IUU fishing is crucial, and we need commitment to implementation of an ecosystem approach to fisheries management to minimize negative impacts of fishing activities on our marine ecosystems. The BB&J agreement is the first international legally binding instrument addressing the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity in our high seas, and a necessary tool to achieve the objective of protecting 30% of the ocean's surface by 2030. When 193 states supported its adoption, it was a testament of multilateralism. Sweden signed the agreement in September 2023, and we aim to ratify and implement the agreement no later than September 2026. Finally, the UN Convention on Law of the Sea provides us with a legal framework within which all activities in the ocean and seas must be carried out. It is one of the most significant and visionary multilateral instruments ever created. The International Seabed Authority is the competent body to organize, regulate, and control activities related to the mineral resources of the area. Sweden believes that the seabed mining in areas beyond national jurisdiction should not be granted until there is sufficient knowledge to assess the environmental consequences of such extraction and a robust environmental framework in place in line with the precautionary principle. Thank you.
Doy las gracias a la ministra de Clima y Medio Ambiente de Suecia. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor David Sungulash-Vili, ministro de Protección Ambiental y Agricultura de Georgia.
Excellencies, dear colleagues, distinguished guests, distinguished delegates. It is a great honor to be here at the 25th United Nations Ocean Conference, a moment of shared responsibility and global urgency. We gather at a time when our oceans and sea faces unprecedented pressure from rising temperatures and pollution to biodiversity loss and overuse of marine resources. The conference is an opportunity to accelerate our efforts toward achieving Sustainable Development Goal 14, to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. At the outset, let me highlight Georgia's continued commitment to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. It is evident that regardless of our geography, every country is linked to the health of our oceans. Although Georgia does not border to the open ocean, it is closely tied to the marine environment through the Black Sea. This semi-enclosed body of water plays a vital role in Georgia's development by supporting sectors such as trade, tourism, fisheries, transportation, and sustaining the livelihoods of coastal communities. In addition to that, the Black Sea has an important role in terms of regional cooperation with Black Sea coastal countries. Apart from that, it represents Georgia's marine gateway to the world and key part of its cultural and ecological identity. However, in the era of climate change, the Black Sea is undergoing significant transformation. In response to the complex challenges, Georgia has adopted a number of strategic and policy measures. one of the key national responses to the source-to-sea approach embedded in the 4th National Environmental Action Program. Georgia's actions are driven by both environmental necessity and social responsibility. Georgia is taking important steps to safeguard its rich marine environment by designating 155 square kilometers of marine territory as protected areas. This plays a crucial role in preserving biodiversity, ensuring the survival of various marine species. In addition to that, it is worthwhile to mention that as a result of active work of Georgia government, of Kolkheti National Park, home to the first marine protected area in Georgia, is inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. I would like to underline that environmental protection is declared as a top priority for the government of Georgia. We are in the process of aligning our environmental policies and legislation with the EU's best practices and policy framework. This process is guided by the Association Agreement and Association Agenda with the EU, and we are firmly committed to continue the process in order to fulfill international obligations. Georgia is home to rich and diverse natural ecosystem, ranging from alpine meadows and ancient forests to unique coastal wetlands. Its exceptional biodiversity is safeguarded through an expanding network of protected areas and Emerald Network, which currently covers more than 23% of the country's territory, and the government of Georgia works actively to increase this figure to 30% by 2030, thus fulfilling requirements of the international commitments. Apart from that, it should be emphasized that Georgia is rich in forest resources. Around 44% of the country's territory is covered by forests. We are working very actively to ensure conservation of this precious asset and introduce sustainable management practices in the forest sector. We acknowledge the importance of action against plastic pollution, and in this regard, Georgia has taken effective steps toward preventing it. Georgia, as a member of a high-ambition coalition, actively supports international solution aiming to development of an international legally binding instrument on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. Apart from that, we support a circular approach to eliminate plastic pollution by 2040. Our ultimate goal is to reduce inland pollution countrywide in order to contribute to the global making our ocean cleaner. We sincerely thank to organize for bringing us together for this important cause. Let us continue to strengthen our mutual effort to protect and resource ecosystem, not only in the Black Sea region, but across our shared environment. I thank you.
Doy las gracias al ministro de Protección Ambiental y Agricultura de Georgia. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Jitendra Singh, ministro de Ciencias de la Tierra de la India.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. India is honored indeed to address the third United Nations Ocean Conference. With a 11,098 kilometer long coastline, over 1,300 islands, and more than 2.1 million square kilometer of exclusive economic zone, the EEZ, India boasts of a rich maritime heritage. And the ocean is indeed our lifeline. Today, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I am pleased to reaffirm India's unwavering commitment to the Sustainable Development Goal, the SDG 14. Ladies and gentlemen, since the second United Nations Ocean Conference, India has made significant progress, which is also relevant to the theme of this year's conference, that is, accelerating action and mobilizing all actors to conserve and sustainably use the ocean. Recognizing the importance of SDG 14, India has initiated several new initiatives, including the Deep Ocean Mission, a pilot project of blue economy. This mission aims to understand and map the biodiversity within our EEZ, and also to develop and implement marine spatial planning, protect and conserve our oceans, and develop technology for ocean exploration and observation. Additionally, it also supports the climate change studies and more than that too. Ladies and gentlemen, India has already signed the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Agreement and is currently in the process of ratification. This step underscores our commitment to conserving marine biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction. Dear delegates, the marine pollution, particularly the plastic pollution, remains, as we all know, a global challenge. Our efforts align with the Ocean Action Plan 4, which focuses on preventing marine pollution from land-based sources. We have undertaken numerous awareness campaigns in the recent past along the coast, which, for example, include the Swachh Sagar, Surakshit Sagar. In other words, clean coast and safe sea. This campaign aims to reduce the impact of marine debris on coastal biodiversity and inspires the community to adopt eco-friendly habits and become marine conservation advocates by engaging citizens across all age groups and across all sections. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to report that under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has taken a proactive stance in championing numerous ocean-related initiatives. These include the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, which aims to modernize the fisheries sector. The Sagarmala program, which focuses on developing and enhancing maritime infrastructure to promote coastal community livelihoods and deep ocean mission. Furthermore, we have established state-of-the-art ocean information services which provide data, information, and services, including the multi-hazard early warning mechanisms for storm surges associated with tsunamis and cyclones, freak waves, and also the rising sea levels, not only to our country, but also for the entire region and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to share with you that focusing on the sustainable development and ocean governance, India proposes the following strategic initiatives to ensure clean and healthy oceans. A, advancing marine research and science-based solutions for ocean policy and governance. B, expanding marine protected areas and supporting the biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction agreement to preserve marine ecosystems. C, reducing marine pollution through effective wastewater management and adoption of circular economy principles. D, enhancing coastal resilience by integrating ocean-based climate solutions to mitigate the impacts of climate change. E, promoting environment-friendly ocean renewable energy sources. And F, empowering communities by incorporating indigenous knowledge and integrating coastal communities into policy frameworks, ensuring inclusive and equitable ocean governance. Ladies and gentlemen, India supports the Nice Ocean Action Plan, which prioritizes actionable outcomes, innovative financing, and inclusive partnerships to achieve the goal of SDG 14. India also stands ready to collaborate with all the stakeholders, including governments, including civil society, including private sector, and including the indigenous communities to build a sustainable, resilient, equitable ocean future for the mankind. You would agree with me that the ocean is our shared heritage, ladies and gentlemen, and India's progress reflects our steadfast commitment to advancing SDG 14. I, on behalf of India, express our deepest gratitude to the Presidents of France and the President of Costa Rica for their visionary leadership in co-hosting UNOC 3, and to all the distinguished dignitaries and high-level delegations in this room for their unwavering dedication to the cause of oceans. May I conclude with a call. Let us all unite to ensure a sustainable, resilient ocean future. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. President.
Doy las gracias al Ministro de Ciencias de la Tierra de la India. Doy ahora la palabra a la excelentísima señora Marianne Sivertsen-Næss, Ministra de Pesca y Política Oceánica de Noruega.
Excellencies, government representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. In a world that seems erratic and uncertain, it is more important than ever to double down on what we know for sure. One of those things is the importance of the ocean. It is vital for the global climate, food security, nutrition, and for the global economy. Norway is an ocean nation with a track record of responsible resource management and with strong investments in building a sustainable ocean economy. The science is clear. The ocean is taking a heavy toll from the human activity. Yet, it is not too late. We should let our optimism be the engine for action. Ocean knowledge is the foundation for sustainable ocean management and of the highest priority of Norway. I encourage all states to do the same. Norway is strongly committed to international cooperation in a broad range of ocean-related issues. The effective implementation of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, the Constitution of the Oceans, is crucial. National implementation is of the utmost importance. Together with the Pacific island state of Palau, we are heading the Ocean Panel, committed to sustainably manage 100% of the ocean area under national jurisdiction. We encourage all island and coastal states to join this goal. We also believe in setting an example and leading the way. Our knowledge-based and sustainable management of our fisheries is an example. Norway also actively works to address fisheries crime and is the custodian of the International Minister Declaration against transnational organized crime in the global fishing industry. The declaration is supported by the Blue Justice Initiative, which provides capacity building and satellite surveillance tools to the member countries. Norway welcomes the OECD recommendations on eliminating government support to IUU fishing. We commit to implementing the recommendations, which calls for strong measures to prevent public resources from unintentionally benefiting dishonest actors. These measures will also contribute to the implementations of some of the key disciplines of the 2022 WTO agreement on fisheries subsidies, which we hope will enter into force in the next few months. Let me be clear. The UN is essential for dealing with the challenges related to the ocean. That is why this conference is so indispensable, vital for the progress and pace of all international ocean processes, such as the BBNG agreement. I am proud to say that Norway ratified this agreement last week. There is a great momentum here in this. We need to collectively work for its entry into force and its effective implementation. We are also heavily vested in the success of plastic pollution treaty negotiations. Concluding an effective plastic pollution treaty at the last negotiation session in August will be a win for multilateralism, the environment, and human health. As geopolitical and economic challenges loom, we must not step away from the long perspective. The ocean can bounce back, and it will if we let it. That is our job together. Thank you.
Doy las gracias a la ministra de Pesca y Política Oceánica de Noruega. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Josef Novák, ministro de Recursos Naturales, Planificación Territorial de Eslovenia.
President Macron, Your Excellencies, respected delegates, esteemed partners, I'm honored to deliver the remarks on behalf of the Republic of Slovenia. It is a defining moment for our global ocean agenda. As a coastal country along the Adriatic Sea, Slovenia is deeply invested in protecting the health and resilience of our ocean. We welcome the politic declaration, Our Ocean, Our Future, accelerating action, and stand ready to translate its vision into implementation. Marine pollution starts on farms, in cities, in industrial zones, and flows the stream to rivers or to the sea. This reality demands a systematic, integrated approach. Taking care of water areas, stopping pollution, and using land wisely must play a key part of our plans. To this end, we stress the importance in making the source-to-sea approach a regular part of how to manage and protect fresh water in the ocean ecosystem together. Slovenia is proud to have connected the program of 3 regional conventions in Danube Commission, and the Black Sea Commission, and the Barcelona Convention, at the aim in reducing the burden in the large marine ecosystem and monitoring its condition. Slovenia has also developed a robust national legal and strategic framework to combat marine pollution, followed by several innovative projects, such the modernization in the wastewater treatment system across the coast region, reducing runoff and the Adriatic Sea. To turn commitments into action, we firmly support quick ratification and implementation of the BBNG agreement, expansion of marine protect areas, and adoption of legally binding global treaty and the plastic pollution in every stage. We also stress the importance of marine spatial planning, which helps to balance conservation and development interest in support the source-to-sea approach in the practice. Slovenia adopted its first national marine spatial plan in 2021, which show our dedication to fair, science-based, to sustainable ocean management. Your Excellencies, let out charts export translate into real, visible instruments in our rivers, lake, in underground water, in our coastal ecosystem, and across the blue heart of our planet, the ocean. Thank you.
Doy las gracias al Ministro de Recursos Naturales y Planificación Territorial de Eslovenia. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Roshan Elger Silla, asesor del presidente y representante especial del presidente para cuestiones climáticas de la Federación de Rusia.
Уважаемый господин председатель, уважаемые главы делегаций, коллеги, Российская Федерация придает большое значение вопросам сохранения и устойчивого использования Мирового океана, который является не только ключевым элементом глобальной экосистемы, но и основой экономического развития многих стран. В этом контексте Конвенция ООН по морскому праву 1982 года остается фундаментальным международным договором, обеспечивающим правовую стабильность и баланс интересов всех государств. Россия последовательно выступает за неукоснительное соблюдение ее положений, в том числе в части устойчивого использования и сохранения морской среды и ресурсов. Сегодня перед мировым сообществом стоят серьезные вызовы: загрязнение морей, сокращение биоразнообразия, незаконный промысел и последствия изменения климата. Особую озабоченность вызывает защита морского биоразнообразия за пределами национальных юрисдикций, что особенно актуально для развивающихся государств, в том числе малых островных. Однако любые новые международные инициативы в этой сфере должны сохранять справедливый баланс между сохранением морского биоразнообразия и правомерным устойчивым использованием на основе норм международного права. В части создания морских охраняемых районов не должно приводить к необоснованным В частности, создание морских охраняемых районов не должно приводить к необоснованным ограничениям свободы судоходства, рыболовства и других видов деятельности, гарантированных Конвенцией 1982 года. Стоит отметить, что Российская Федерация в рамках межведомственного переговорного Межправительственного переговорного комитета активно участвует в разработке международного соглашения в области борьбы с загрязнением окружающей среды, в том числе пластиковым мусором. Считаем, что приоритетом должно быть не запрещение пластика как такового, а развитие инфраструктуры и предоставление доступа к технологиям для его переработки и утилизации, особенно в странах с ограниченными возможностями. Россия за последние 5 лет расширила сеть морских особо охраняемых природных территорий арктической зоны до 16,2 миллионов гектаров акватории. Теперь национальные парки и заповедники образуют биосферную дугу вдоль арктического побережья России. Учитывая мнение лучших российских ученых, наша делегация вносит 3 конкретных предложения, чтобы придать новый импульс сохранению и активному восстановлению океанических экосистем. Первое. Учредить постоянный научный и межправительственный диалог по методикам восстановления морских экосистем. Второе. Создать глобальную платформу пилотных проектов, где национальные комитеты десятилетий наук об океане и восстановлении экосистем смогут совместно тиражировать лучшие практики. Третье. Проработать меры стимулирования финансового обеспечения восстановления морских экосистем, объединяющие государственные, корпоративные и климатические фонды для масштабирования проекта с доказанным социально-экономическим эффектом. Российская делегация готова к конструктивному диалогу по всем аспектам устойчивого управления океанами. Благодарю за внимание.
Doy las gracias al asesor del presidente y representante especial del presidente para cuestiones climáticas de la Federación de Rusia. Doy ahora la palabra a la excelentísima señora Alicia Bárcena Ibarra, ministra de Medio Ambiente y Recursos Naturales de México.
Con permiso. Distinguidos delegados y delegadas, es un honor para mí representar al Gobierno de México, a nuestra presidenta, la doctora Claudia Sheinbaum, en esta tercera conferencia de las Naciones Unidas sobre Océanos. Reciban su saludo fraternal. Agradezco al Gobierno de Francia y de Costa Rica por la organización de este encuentro. Bajo el liderazgo de la doctora Claudia Sheinbaum, nuestro país está profundamente comprometido con una noción básica pero trascendental. El bienestar humano no puede existir sin un medio ambiente sano. Y porque ya no vivimos una época de cambios, vivimos un verdadero cambio de época, una emergencia global que requiere una profunda transformación estructural del sistema económico y social, una revolución de las conciencias. México implementa una política ecológica y ambiental humanista que estamos impulsando, y porque la preservación de ecosistemas tan vitales como el océano es fundamental, porque está sometido a amenazas excepcionales como el cambio climático, la contaminación, la acidificación, la pesca desmedida y la falta de recursos para su cuidado. Por eso, nosotros como México a veces reflexionamos, estamos buscando llegar a Marte y todavía no acabamos de entender nuestros océanos. Y por eso, ante esta coyuntura, presento lo que nuestro país quiere lograr: generar acciones transformadoras y brindar soluciones sustentables para los océanos y para sus comunidades costeras y marinas. Nuestra nación, 17 de sus 32 estados costeros, 62% de la superficie nacional es marina y tenemos casi 12,000 kilómetros de costa habitados por miles de especies y al menos 21 millones de personas. Por eso nosotros estamos muy comprometidos con el Tratado sobre la Conservación y el Uso Sostenible de la Biodiversidad Marina de Zonas Fuera de la Jurisdicción Nacional, el BBNJ, que ya se encuentra en el Senado para su ratificación. Los litorales mexicanos, además, son ventanas tanto al Océano Pacífico como al Atlántico, a través del Golfo de México y a través del Golfo de California. Somos responsables del hermoso Mar Caribe, de un fragmento, y también de ese acuario del mundo, como lo denominó Jacques Cousteau. Reconocemos que esta riqueza ecosistémica se ha visto afectada por un modelo extractivista que por décadas ha pasado por alto los límites ecológicos, ignorando que los recursos naturales son finitos y permitiendo el usufructo con una responsabilidad muy frágil. Hemos rebasado 6 de los 9 límites naturales. Por eso hemos asumido una serie de compromisos que me permito destacar. En primer lugar, la palabra clave de este gobierno es restauración ambiental. Es fundamental recuperar ecosistemas y especies y por eso, bajo este enfoque, estamos recuperando y reforestando 100,000 hectáreas de bosques y selvas, 18,000 hectáreas de manglares, porque son los manglares el lugar donde habitan las pesquerías y donde se almacenan, al menos en 1 hectárea de manglar maduro, 3,750 toneladas de carbono. Por ello, los manglares son para nosotros fundamentales y estamos logrando corredores de manglares y otros ecosistemas de carbono azul, como los bosques de macroalgas. Segundo, la política nacional para la conservación y uso sustentable de mares, costas e islas mexicanas. Hoy estamos protegiendo 22% de las zonas marinas y debemos llegar al menos al 30%, incluyendo el gran acuífero Maya y el Golfo de California. Por ello, bajo este enfoque queremos lograr que podamos ir hacia la acuacultura regenerativa y en ese sentido como motor de desarrollo, reconociendo que el océano también puede ser productivo y por lo tanto con una lógica de restauración productiva queremos implementar métodos innovadores como ya lo hemos logrado en algunas zonas específicas como es el caso de Cabo Pulmo y el Manglito. Hemos establecido zonas de refugio pesquero y estamos combatiendo la pesca ilegal y la sobrepesca. Así, en este esquema de restauración productiva, tenemos que llegar a áreas de prosperidad marina. En ese sentido, hemos iniciado una campaña de limpieza de playas y costas y hemos invitado a la comunidad mexicana a adoptar una playa para eliminar 100% de los plásticos en nuestras costas. En los últimos años, nuestras costas se han visto invadidas por el sargazo. Han llegado casi 60,000 toneladas de sargazo en los últimos años en nuestras costas del Caribe y por ello vamos a establecer una planta de economía circular para tratar el sargazo. Y eso lo estamos haciendo y queremos hacerlo en conjunto con República Dominicana y con los países del Caribe. Reciclar el sargazo puede ser un recurso muy útil si lo usamos bien. Sostenemos que en agosto debemos acordar un tratado vinculante que aborde todo el ciclo de vida de los plásticos, incluyendo una meta global para reducir los polímeros primarios. Reafirmamos nuestro compromiso con el multilateralismo para lograr este tratado ambicioso que tenga una lista de productos perniciosos y sustancias de preocupación desde la entrada en vigor del tratado. En México, por ejemplo, generamos 15,000 toneladas de plástico diarios, que se van el 80% al mar y por eso pensamos que es tan urgente, no podemos seguir así y debemos actuar. Concluyo, señor presidente, hoy el multilateralismo enfrenta un reto de enormes dimensiones. El futuro colectivo depende de nuestras decisiones y acciones políticas. Debemos repensar el multilateralismo para que sea contundente, oportuno, eficaz y cercano a la gente. Estamos ante un planeta enfermo, se requiere un cambio de perspectiva y por eso quisiera concluir mis palabras recordando a un mexicano que realmente fue espectacular y quien nos dijo muchas veces que tenemos que actuar con un sentido de urgencia que oriente nuestro actuar con ambición. No tenemos tiempo para modestias graduales, que son más bien coartadas para mantener el status quo. Debemos contagiarnos de rebeldía contra el business as usual. No es con parca timidez. No se trata de continuar así para no incomodar a la estructura. Debemos actuar con saltos audaces y valientes. Y por eso, amigas y amigos, a mediados del siglo XX, debo decir, en esta organización va a cumplir, las Naciones Unidas va a cumplir 80 años. Y en ese momento, cuando se creó Naciones Unidas, estábamos aterrados ante el precipicio de sucumbir en el fuego de la guerra. Hoy ese precipicio se acerca, intimidante, feroz, no solo por la guerra, sino por la emergencia ambiental. Y por eso, cuando esta organización hace 80 años ensayaba sus pasos, las huellas devastadoras de la última guerra mundial todavía estaban frescas, un joven diplomático mexicano sobre los rasgos de mi patria decía, en el laberinto de la soledad, que después ganaría el premio Nobel, era Octavio Paz, y él decía, todo ha pasado como no debería haber pasado. Decimos para consolarnos, pero no somos nosotros los equivocados, no la historia. Tenemos que aprender a mirar cara a cara la realidad, inventar si es preciso palabras nuevas e idear nuevas ideas para estas nuevas y extrañas realidades que nos han salido al paso. Vivimos como el resto del planeta una coyuntura decisiva y mortal. Estamos huérfanos de pasado y con un futuro por inventar. La historia es una tarea común y nuestro laberinto, el de todos los hombres y mujeres, es esa tarea de donde tenemos que salir. Así, señor presidente, creo que la utopía está en el horizonte y por eso, si caminamos 2 pasos, como decía Galeano, ella se aleja 2 pasos. Pero ¿para qué sirve la utopía? Para caminar. Muchas gracias.
Doy las gracias a la ministra de Medio Ambiente y Recursos Naturales de México. Doy ahora la palabra a la excelentísima señora Maísa Rojas Corradi, ministra de Medio Ambiente de Chile.
Señor presidente, quisiera en primer lugar expresar en nombre de Chile los más sinceros agradecimientos a los gobiernos de Francia y Costa Rica por la organización de esta tercera conferencia de los océanos. Hoy nos encontramos en un momento crítico para todos aquellos que habitamos este planeta. El océano, que cubre más del 70% de la Tierra, está amenazado. Debemos, por lo tanto, aunar esfuerzos para movilizar recursos e implementar soluciones efectivas, eficientes y realistas para protegerlo. El océano contribuye con aproximadamente 2.6 billones de dólares anuales a la economía mundial, con datos del 2020. Provee seguridad alimentaria a más de 3.000 millones de personas y es una fuente de energía permanente. Es un medio de transporte vital para el comercio global y contiene una serie de recursos genéticos que son claves para el desarrollo y la innovación de productos y medicamentos. Chile ha consolidado una política de conservación y uso sustentable del océano como una política de Estado, a través de la cual hemos llegado a declarar el 44% de nuestras aguas jurisdiccionales bajo alguna categoría de conservación. Pero no basta solo con declarar áreas marinas, sino que es fundamental la gestión efectiva y una buena gobernanza. Hemos establecido el trabajo con las comunidades como una de las prioridades de nuestra gestión para que esto se materialice. Un ejemplo concreto de este avance es la reciente aprobación de todos los planes de manejo de las áreas marinas protegidas alrededor de Rapa Nui, Isla de Pascua, y del archipiélago de Juan Fernández, que ustedes deben conocer, es la historia de Robinson Crusoe. En este marco, y reconociendo el compromiso de la comunidad de Juan Fernández y su relación con su territorio, y tal como ya nuestro presidente Gabriel Boric lo había anunciado, expandiremos el área protegida del archipiélago y con ello superaríamos el 50% de nuestra zona económica exclusiva bajo alguna figura de protección. Chile no solo ha enfrentado el desafío de la conservación de los ecosistemas marinos a través de un Consejo de Ministros Se ha elaborado una política oceánica y un plan sostenible del océano en el año 2023, que reconoce la heterogeneidad de intereses presentes en torno al océano, los que abarcan desde la pesca artesanal, la industria pesquera extractiva, la acuicultura, el transporte marítimo y el desarrollo de los puertos para el comercio exterior, el turismo, las ciencias del mar, las energías renovables, entre otros. Nuestro país está comprometido a contribuir que al menos el 30% del océano global esté protegido al año 2030, para lo cual se debe ir más allá de las aguas jurisdiccionales nacionales. Para eso, el acuerdo BBNJ es un pilar central al crear por primera vez un mecanismo para la protección de áreas claves del océano en la alta mar. Chile fue el segundo país en ratificar este acuerdo y hacemos un llamado a aumentar los esfuerzos para alcanzar la meta de los 60 países este año para que de esa manera entre en vigor el tratado a la brevedad. Creemos firmemente que el éxito del tratado BBNJ depende de su temprana implementación y es por eso que, además del llamado a que más países lo ratifiquen, hemos creado una iniciativa llamada First Movers, en la cual estamos trabajando en propuestas para áreas marinas protegidas, para ser considerada para la Secretaría cuando entre en vigor y así tener un portafolio de áreas en la alta mar para rápidamente aumentar las áreas protegidas en la alta mar. Al mismo tiempo, hemos hecho ver la importancia de una participación protagónica del sur global en la implementación de este acuerdo. Y por lo tanto, hemos propuesto a la ciudad de Valparaíso, en la costa de nuestro país y frente al océano más extenso del mundo, el Océano Pacífico, como sede de la Secretaría. Este ofrecimiento se construye con el respaldo de pescadores, comunidades locales, sector académico, ONGs y otros grupos de interés en Chile. Nuestra propuesta es un ofrecimiento serio de proyectar desde el sur global una gestión del océano basada en la evidencia científica, inclusiva con todos los miembros de Naciones Unidas. Por otra parte, desde Chile queremos expresar nuestra preocupación por la situación en el marco de la Autoridad Internacional de los Fondos Marinos. Hacemos un llamado a una pausa precautoria que permita evaluar adecuadamente los impactos ambientales antes de autorizar cualquier actividad de explotación minera en los fondos marinos. Proponemos seguir trabajando para aumentar el conocimiento científico y desarrollar una normativa internacional que permita garantizar la protección del medio ambiente marino, el reparto justo de los beneficios y un sistema eficiente de compensaciones, según lo establece la Convención de Naciones Unidas sobre los Derechos del Mar. Quisiera concluir destacando que en nuestro país, junto a la República de Corea, ambos con una importante vocación oceánica, hemos expresado nuestro interés por asumir como copresidentes de la UNO4 en el año 2028. Ambos países expresando distintos hemisferios y culturas, pero unidos en una mirada sostenible, queremos liderar el trabajo necesario para cumplir con nuestras metas para el océano, en especial para asegurar la buena salud del océano en el largo plazo. Muchas gracias.
Doy las gracias a la ministra de Medio Ambiente de Chile. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Mohamed Salem Ould Merzouk, ministro de Relaciones Exteriores, Cooperación Africana y Mauritanos en el extranjero.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين السيد الرئيس أصحاب المعالي رؤساء الوفود سيدات والسادة المشاركون الحضور الكريم إنه من دواعي الغبطة والسرور أن نخاطب جمعكم الوقر اليوم في افتتاح المؤتمر الثالث للأمم المتحدة حول المحيطات المنعقد في فرنسا بمدينة نيس العريقة. وفي مستهل كلمتي يشرفني أن أنقل إليكم أطيب التحيات صاحب الفخامة سيد محمد الشيخ الغزواني رئيس الجمهورية الإسلامية الموريتانية، وتمنياتي الصادقة بنجاح أعمال هذا المؤتمر الهام، ولولا التزامات طارئة على جدول أعماله لكان حريصا على المشاركة شخصيا في هذا الحدث بالغ الأهمية. كما أغتنم هذه المناسبة لأعبر باسمه ونيابة عن بلادي عن عميق شكرنا وامتناننا للأمم المتحدة والبلد المضيف على التنظيم المحكم لهذا المؤتمر الذي يضع مستقبل محيطاتنا ومصير كوكبنا في صلب الاهتمامات الدولية. سيد الرئيس، سيدات والسادة، منذ مؤتمر لشبونة قبل 3 سنوات تتوالى تحذيرات بشأن التدهور المتسارع للبيئة البحرية، فيما باتت آثار تغير المناخ على المحيطات أكثر وضوحاً وحدة، مما يؤكد ضرورة أن تظل حماية المحيطات في صميم الأولويات على المستوى العالمي. إننا نواجه اليوم تحديات مصيرية تتطلب التزامات طموحة وإجراءات ملموسة تتمحور حول 3 مجالات رئيسية: بيئياً عبر تسريع ابتكار حلول مستدامة لحماية السواحل والنظم البيئية البحرية، اقتصادياً من خلال اعتماد نماذج بحرية مسؤولة في الصيد البحري والطاقة الزرقاء، وعلمياً بدعم البحث وتبادل المعرفة لتعزيز فهمنا للمحيط وتغيراته. ويظل تحقيق التقدم صوب هذه الأهداف رهيناً بإرادة سياسية صادقة وتعاون دولي واسع يشمل تحديث الأطر القانونية وتفعيلها مع إشراك كافة الفاعلين وخاصة الأوساط العلمية والمجتمع المدني في بناء شراكات شاملة قادرة على التصدي للتحديات بروح من التضامن والمسؤولية المشتركة. ولا يفوتني هنا أن أحيي الجهود الرائدة التي يبذلها العلماء والباحثون والمجتمع المدني باعتبارهم أطرافاً أساسية لا غنى عنها في بناء منظومة حوكمة بحرية مستدامة، لأن التزامهم يمثل ضمانة لشراكة مسؤولة وعادلة تحفظ المحيطات للأجيال القادمة. سيد الرئيس، سيدات والسادة، إن الجمهورية الإسلامية الموريتانية بفضل موقعها الجغرافي وامتدادها الساحلي على المحيط الأطلسي تدرك تماماً القيمة الاستراتيجية للمحيطات، ليس فقط كمورد طبيعي بل كركيزة للتنمية البيئية الاقتصادية والاجتماعية. فالشريط الساحلي في بلادي يحتضن واحدة من أغنى الأنظمة البيئية البحرية في غرب إفريقيا، وقد أولته السياسات الحكومية عناية فائقة من خلال إنشاء مناطق بحرية محمية وإدارتها بصورة مستدامة. غير أن بلادنا شأنها شأن العديد من الدول الساحلية تواجه تحديات متزايدة ناجمة عن تغير المناخ، من بينها الارتفاع التدريجي لمستوى سطح البحر، لاستغلال مفرط الموارد السمكية، تحمض المحيطات، تدهور النظم البيئية، وتآكل السواحل. وهذه الظواهر لا تهدد النظم الطبيعية فحسب، بل تمس أيضاً سبل عيش السكان، وتؤثر على الأمن الغذائي، وتقلص من قدرات الصمود في وجه الكوارث البيئية. وللتصدي لذلك اعتمدت بلادي سياسة متكاملة لإدارة المناطق الساحلية تم من خلالها تعزيز أدوات الحوكمة البحرية وتوسيع نطاق الحماية البيئية وتعزيز القدرات الوطنية في مجالات الرقابة والتفتيش ومكافحة التلوث البحري. وترتكز هذه السياسة على مقاربة مزدوجة تجمع بين تحقيق التنمية الاقتصادية والحفاظ على البيئة البحرية بما ينسجم مع أهداف التنمية المستدامة، وعلى رأسها الهدف الرابع عشر والذي 14. وفي هذا السياق يسرني أن أعلن أمام جمعكم الموقر أن بلادي قد صادقت بتاريخ 26 مايو الماضي على اتفاقية التنوع البيولوجي في أعالي البحار BBNG، كما صادقت على البروتوكول الإضافي لاتفاقية أبيجان المتعلق بالمعايير البيئية في اكتشاف واستغلال الموارد الهيدروكربونية البحرية. وتعمل حاليا على استكمال إجراءات التصديق على البروتوكولات الإضافية الثلاثة المتبقية. سيد الرئيس، سيدات والسادة، إن الاقتصاد الأزرق يشكل أفقاً واعداً لتحقيق تنمية مستدامة عادلة شاملة منصفة، لكنه لن يحقق أهدافه منشودة ما لم يكن قائماً على إدارة رشيدة وشفافة للموارد البحرية، تمويلات عادلة وفعالة، شراكات حقيقية لحماية النظم البيئية، وإتاحة عادلة للتكنولوجيا والمعرفة والابتكار في إطار تعاون دولي منفتح وشامل. إن موريتانيا بالقيادة تحت القيادة الرشيدة صاحب الفخامة سيد محمد الشيخ القزواني تظل ملتزمة التزاماً راسخاً بالعمل مع كافة الشركاء لبناء مستقبل بحري آمن ومستدام يخدم مصالح الأجيال الحاضرة ويحفظ حق الأجيال القادمة. أشكركم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Doy las gracias al ministro de Relaciones Exteriores, Cooperación Africana y Mauritanos en el Exterior de Mauritania. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Ahmed Chiyam, ministro de Pesca y Recursos Oceánicos de Maldivas.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellencies, distinguished delegates and colleagues, Assalamu alaikum. I convey the best wishes from His Excellency President Dr. Mohamed Moise, who unfortunately could not be here today. He extends his deep appreciation to the governments of France and Costa Rica for co-hosting this vital gathering. We thank you for the warm welcome to the beautiful shores of Nice. We meet at a critical time. The UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, a decade that calls on us to unlock the science we need for the future we want, to transform the way we observe, understand, and collectively govern the ocean, not just in laboratories, but in local communities, in boardrooms, and on fishing vessels. It is about bridging gaps between disciplines, between nations, and between science, knowledge, and policy. For the Maldives, a large ocean state, ocean governance is deeply personal. The ocean is not a backdrop to our lives. It is our life. Every Maldivian depends directly on the ocean for food, for income, for survival. The fishers who rise before dawn, the communities who live by the coast, the tourism sector that draws the world to our turquoise, crystal clear waters and coral reefs, all of it, every thread of our national fabric is woven into the ocean. Our schools of tuna, caught one by one, are more than a market product. They are a symbol of culture, sustainability, and stewardship. Our first UNESCO Biosphere Reserve in Bilateral stands as a success in ecological and economic harmony. But the ocean as a provider is also under siege. Climate change, rise in sea levels, and coral bleaching are not just scientific concerns. It is our lived reality. And yet, we are not only on the front lines of risk, we are on the front lines of action. Under the strong leadership of His Excellency President Dr. Mohamed Moise, we have protected over 93 marine areas and established OECMs. We champion the inclusion of ocean accounts in the UNOC 3 declaration to guide ocean-based sectors. We are also modernizing our fisheries sector with cleaner vessels, smarter technologies, and stronger science. In fact, the Indian Ocean skipjack tuna stock assessment relies on decades of data maintained by Maldivian fishers since the 1950s. We are progressively phasing out single-use plastics and actively supporting the call to finalize a legally binding treaty on plastics pollution, and are advancing circular solutions to keep our waters free from the waste that chokes our marine life. And we are ensuring that SIDS, who rely on the ocean the most, have a seat at the decision-making table, because the future of the ocean cannot be written by a few for the many. It must be co-authored by all of us, by every nation, every island voice, and every community that depends on the tide. In that spirit, the Maldives was among the first 10 countries to sign and ratify the BBNJ agreement. We urge all states to do the same and enable its early entry into force. But meaningful partnership must also facilitate fair and accessible finance. SIDS face high borrowing costs and limited access to affordable finance. The Maldives therefore urges developed countries and creditors to reduce borrowing costs for SIDS. For those in debt distress, consider relief in return for investments in SDG 14. Crucially, the most effective financial solutions are those that are shaped from the ground up, designed with and by the private sector and local communities, not merely imposed upon them. That is not charity, that is justice, ocean justice. We do not ask for handouts. We offer leadership and tools to show real progress. Let us not ask for small islands to do big things with small means. Let us invest in partnerships, ones where local action can drive global results. Let us not measure our success by the declarations we draft, but by the capacity we nurture, the reefs that regrow, and the children who dive into a living ocean and still find wonder. may we be here not as representatives of nations, but as stewards of one indivisible ocean. I thank you. Wassalamu alaikum.
Doy las gracias al ministro de Pesca y Recursos Oceánicos de Maldivas. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Jean-Noël Barrot, ministro de Europa y de Relaciones Exteriores de Francia.
Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs, la Terre est une exception à la surface des mers. Oui, notre planète est un océan. Nous avons essayé de le diviser artificiellement. Nous avons cru pouvoir nous l'approprier. Nous nous sommes comportés comme des maîtres et des possesseurs. Mais tout cela en vain, car l'océan est un et indivisible. Et comme le poumon qui oxygène le cœur, l'océan est indétachable de la vie terrestre. Il unit les peuples. Universel est son origine, universelle est sa destination. C'est notre maison commune, celle de l'humanité. L'océan nourrit des milliards de personnes, par la pêche, l'irrigation, par le tourisme, le commerce. Il est notre plus grand puits de carbone, un trésor de biodiversité, notre allié le plus sûr pour lutter contre le dérèglement climatique. Alors oui, Monsieur le Président, nous en sommes les gardiens et les serviteurs. Et notre responsabilité, c'est de le protéger pour qu'il puisse nous protéger. Mais, par nos propres excès, nous mettons l'océan à rude épreuve. Il suffoque. Il se dérègle, il est gagné par la fièvre. Et alors que l'océan est en danger de mort, voici que nous sommes condamnés à l'action collective. Car face à l'immensité de l'océan, nous sommes tous égaux, tous responsables, tous concernés, tous dans le même bateau. Il n'y a pas d'un côté les États maritimes et de l'autre les États continentaux. Les pays riches et les pays en développement, un prétendu Sud global opposé à un prétendu Occident collectif. Ces distinctions sont artificielles. S'il y a bien une ligne de fracture, elle ne longe pas le trait de côte. La vraie ligne de fracture, c'est celle qui sépare ceux qui agissent pour l'océan, qui protègent nos biens communs, qui préparent l'avenir de nos enfants, et les autres qui refusent de s'engager, qui attendent et qui regardent ailleurs. Cette ligne de fracture, c'est la même que celle qui sépare les défenseurs du multilatéralisme et les autres. Car la protection des océans nécessite une action concertée, une véritable diplomatie bleue fondée sur la science, le droit et la coopération. Alors, au moment où le multilatéralisme est contesté, au moment où les institutions qui en sont les gardiennes sont fragilisées, entrons en résistance. Résistance aux sirènes du cynisme, résistance aux tentations mercantiles, résistance à l'obscurantisme. Ici même, à Nice, nous avons remporté une première victoire, une immense victoire, 100 000 personnes réunies autour de l'océan. C'est une mobilisation historique, mais ce n'est qu'un début. De Nice, où nous nous tenons aujourd'hui, nous appelons l'humanité tout entière à se lever. Car si l'humanité ne parvient pas à sauver l'océan, alors l'océan se révoltera contre l'humanité. Notre planète deviendra invivable. L'océan étouffera sous le plastique et les produits chimiques. Les poissons chargés de mercure seront incomestibles. La famine se répandra de pays en pays. La guerre éclatera pour l'accès à l'eau potable. Les cyclones balayeront nos villes et les typhons dévasteront nos côtes. Des villes comme Jakarta, Lagos et Miami seront englouties, tandis que des îles entières du Pacifique seront rayées de la carte. Des millions de personnes seront arrachées à leurs terres. Les tortues, les ibis, les raies, les requins rejoindront le cortège silencieux des espèces disparues. Les équilibres naturels tissés depuis la nuit des temps s'effondreront comme un château de cartes. Continuer d'abîmer l'océan, c'est scier la branche sur laquelle nous sommes assis, c'est perdre une part essentielle de notre humanité. Voilà pourquoi il est urgent d'agir. Et c'est ce que nous faisons ici, lors de cette 3e conférence des Nations Unies sur l'océan, avec la protection des aires marines et de la haute mer. Et je veux, avec vous, saluer le dépôt par l'Indonésie, il y a quelques minutes, de son instrument de ratification du traité BBNJ. Avec la décarbonation du transport maritime, avec la lutte contre la pollution plastique, avec la promotion de la science et contre l'exploitation des grands fonds marins. Nous ne laisserons personne monnayer les abysses. Monsieur le Président, aujourd'hui à Nice, une espérance se lève. L'humanité prend conscience et décide d'agir. Le plan d'action de Nice pour l'océan nous engage pour les années et pour les décennies à venir. Alors pour nous-mêmes, pour nos enfants, pour leurs enfants après eux, entrons en résistance et poursuivons ce combat.
Doy las gracias al ministro para Europa y de Relaciones Exteriores de Francia. Doy ahora la palabra al excelentísimo señor Moussa Dramé, ministro de Pesca, Recursos Hídricos y Asuntos de la Asamblea Nacional de Gambia.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to deliver the statement on behalf of His Excellency President Adama Barrow of the Republic of the Gambia. As a small, low-lying coastal state, the Gambia's economy, culture, and identity are intrinsically tied to the ocean. Fisheries and coastal agriculture are central pillars of our GDP and employment. Yet our coastal communities remain among the most vulnerable to the climate-related impacts. Sea level rise and coastal erosion are not distant threats. They are already displacing communities, damaging infrastructure, and undermining the sustainability of our blue economy. The ocean is in crisis. Marine pollution, ocean acidification, rising temperatures, illegal fishing, and biodiversity loss have pushed vital ecosystems to the brink of collapse. Our fisheries and water resources are threatened by the increase in marine pollution, including microplastics and global warming. For the Gambia, these are daily lived realities experienced by our fishers, our farmers, and our families. Through targeted policies, community involvement, and partnerships, the Gambia has restored around 340 square kilometers of forest, wetlands, rivers, and coasts, which make up nearly 3% of its territory. Our Navy is intensifying efforts against illegal fishing, while community initiatives like mangrove restoration and sustainable agriculture support environmental recovery and livelihoods. We have adopted national fisheries policy that bans the single use of plastic and monofilament nets. We are also committed to establishing a marine protected area to conserve marine biodiversity, sustain fisheries, and enhance coastal resilience, contributing to global marine conservation and climate adaptation goals. Furthermore, the Gambia continues to demonstrate national and international commitments We are reviewing our fisheries legislation to better protect spawning and nursery grounds and have adopted a national fisheries policy that embraces an ecosystem approach, promotes scientific research and incorporates international legal instruments. Our National Environment Management Act and Fisheries Act provide the legal basis for sustainable resource management, while policies like the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Plan and Marine Protected Area Policy balance ecological protection with economic development. Distinguished delegates, this conference must go beyond declaration. For the Gambia, this is a fight for survival. Therefore, it must serve as a launchpad for tangible action driven by science, innovation, and financing to manage our oceans effectively and inclusively. The Gambia calls for strong African leadership in advancing ocean governance, recognizing its critical issue for our region. We underscore the need for renewed global ambition and enhanced international cooperation. We urge developed countries to step up their effort in preserving the ocean. Increased investment in ocean protection is vital to the counter-accelerating threats and their far-reaching impacts. Safeguarding the ocean is not only essential for the lives and livelihoods it supports, but also remains one of the most effective defenses against escalating environmental loss, its cascading consequences. Since the entry into force, the BBNJ agreement has become a vital tool for maintaining maritime peace and security, promoting sustainable ocean use, ensuring safe navigation, and protecting the marine environment. The Gambia reaffirms its commitment to ratifying this binding international instrument and aligning national policies with the objectives to support global efforts in safeguarding marine biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction and advancing a shared vision of healthy, resilient ocean. We stress the urgent need for developing countries, especially least developed countries, to access adequate financing for sustainable ocean environment, ocean governance. In this context, we call for ocean solutions supported by predictable grant-based funding that reflects the unique circumstances of our nations. We also support the establishment of a global ocean fund that is accessible to low-income countries and designed with streamlined, inclusive modalities. Finally, it is our collective interest to reverse the many irresponsible human activities in the ocean to address these pressing challenges. We must work together to advance innovative, science-based solutions that protect the health of our oceans and secure the future livelihoods that depend on the full realization of SDG 14. In conclusion, we thank France and Costa Rica for co-hosting this conference and conveys profound gratitude to the people and government of France for their warm hospitality. I thank you for your attention.
Doy las gracias al ministro de Pesca, Recursos Hídricos y Asuntos de la Asamblea Nacional de Gambia. Doy ahora la palabra a la excelentísima señora Yasmin Fuha, ministra de Medio Ambiente de Egipto.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum. Your Excellencies, heads of delegation, I'd like to start by conveying the greetings of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for a successful deliberation in this conference, and regretting that he was not able to participate in person at a very timely manner to deal with our oceans. I'd like to express the thanks and appreciation to the government of France and Costa Rica for co-hosting the United Nations conference in its third version in this beautiful city of Nice, as well as thanks to the United Nations for giving special attention to the topics of this conference. 2025 provided tangible evidence on the complexity of the challenges that we are all facing, from sea level rise as impact of climate change, loss of biodiversity, bleaching of coral reefs, extreme weather events, migration from one place to the other to communities due to the job loss, and above all, the plastic pollution, as well as pollutions within the sea. All this has effectively affected the coastal zone areas upon which we live. Egypt has been committed and will remain committed to multilateralism, especially the multilateral environmental process, and is taking more national efforts into that. To name some, building the nature-based solution for more than 70 kilometers along 5 governorates to protect the lives of our people that depend on the coastal area. Building and working on the extreme weather events plan that integrate everyone in that process. Rehabilitation of the northern lakes to ensure the fisheries for our local communities to ensure a sustainable livelihood process. Greening our ports, where East Port Said and Damietta was announced as the first green port, as well as greening the Suez Canal. Stopping fishing in the Red Sea to ensure a healthy ecosystem is being back to that was with its natural resources. Today, on the occasion of the United Nations Conference on Oceans, we would like to make the following announcement. The Egyptian Cabinet of Ministers has issued the first decree in 2025 to implement the extended producer responsibility on the single-use plastic bag, a decree that will be effective on the 20th of June to ensure that we are taking very wise steps in order to face the plastic issues and plastic pollution before the upcoming INC 5.2. We have signed the BBNG agreement for the protection of the marine biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. We will include biodiversity target in our upcoming NDC before COP30. We're working on the announcement of the whole of the Red Sea coast and its coral reef as protected area, moving our protection from 15% of Egypt land to 22% of its land. And finally, we're finalizing a full integrated blue economy strategy before November 2025 to ensure that the trades-off are measured as well as the socio-economic issues are fully integrated before the 2026. Egypt remains and will continue to remain an active party in the multilateral process because we only have one planet, which is the Earth planet. And the upcoming COP24 of the Barcelona Convention will be a great evidence of how 22 countries are coming, sharing the same water resources, but giving a very ambitious targets and plans to the way forward that could be further replicated and upscaled. I thank you.
Doy las gracias a la ministra de Medio Ambiente de Egipto. Hemos escuchado la última intervención en el debate general de esta sesión. Seguiremos escuchando declaraciones en el debate general de esta tarde a las 15 horas en este salón. Se levanta la sesión.
I grew up close to the sea and walked barefoot to school along the beach. From an early age, I felt the closeness of the ocean